What's up, everybody? As you see, we just found out where now 2 of the deputies live. You know, I already said what I had to say about that, I guess, mostly. But maybe I should pound on their door and say, hey, you mind if I shower here? You know, could I borrow your shower? Right? You guys ruined my life. But let's talk about my lawyer now, Nicholas V. I'm, you know, kind of going all over the place on my videos, but we're going to pinpoint all these people. Now we're going to talk about my lawyer he's out of Bryan, Ohio. Williams County, that's a neighboring county to here in Defiance County. And Nicholas V was my attorney's name. And as I have done some research on Mr. Fee, found out that he is a lot of times a court-appointed attorney, used as a court-appointed attorney here in Defiance County. So, go figure, he was not court-appointed attorney for me, I hired him. Now, I got his name through another, because when I was looking for a lawyer, I made it clear I didn't want one from Defiance County because I know how they act. They all act, how the system works here, and so I wanted someone out of the county. Well, then I found one here in this county that had a lot of cases thrown out of these fake-ass domestic violence matters that they keep coming up with. And but he's here out of Defiance, but also works out of Finland. So I gave them a call, and they said, well, he's too busy right now. He won't be able to. This was when all this first happened in November. He went in the end of November of 2021. He wouldn't be able to get to me, my case in time. So, but they have another lawyer that they work with and does a lot of stuff for them. And they highly recommend him. He would do just as good a job as the lawyer I was trying to get. And I said, well, you know, with all due respect, I don't trust any of them from Defiance County. So you know, this guy was going to be my exception. And, oh, yeah, they rest assured that this, the one they want to recommend me out of Bryan, Ohio, would do me a good job and just as good of a job. So they recommended him. His name was Nicholas V. So, in the meantime, one of my relatives let me know of an attorney, and that she works in the office. She works for an attorney out of Toledo, and this other guy works out of the same office, ended up getting a judge disbarred. And I said, well, that's the lawyer I want. Of course, he's very expensive, and it was going to take me too long to get to him. I was running down to what they made me feel like was the last minute to get an attorney on my case. And I only had a few days left, so I went and talked to Nicholas Fee. Now, when I went and talked to Mr. Nicholas Fee, he listened to what I had to say about my case and sat there agreeing with me. And I told him, you know, I'm putting trust in that if I would hire you, I'd be putting trust in you because I don't trust this system, that I'm not going to hire one out of Defiance because I know how they act. How they're all in cahoots together. And he agreed with me. Yeah, that's how it is. And, you know, some of them lawyers will be afraid to do their job if the whole system was coming against you. They'd be afraid to upset them because then they would be blackballed. And you know, all the time telling me, yeah, it sounds like you got an easy case to beat here. You know, says all the things I want to hear, and until I paid him. So, you know, right? So he says all these things, and I was like, you know, I thought about it for a couple of days, and I was like, I'm down on the wire here, so I'll go ahead. And I paid him the retainer, and said, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and hire you. Now, before I hired him, when I was talking to him, the consultation or whatever, I told him a few things about my case that was suspicious. And I said, you know, I got more. They want to go on substantial, or what they call enough probable evidence, right? when they want to come after you to investigate you, and they'll do enough reasonable suspicion, right, is what they call it, reasonable enough suspicion. So I told him, I was like, well, you know, this the officer that arrested me, Deputy Little, that arrested me the first night, was just a few weeks prior to my arrest, was having social media interactions with the alleged victim, right? In my case, the person who called the police on me, this Deputy Little, was having social media interactions with her, right? Deputy Little is also the guy that showed up twice to my house. The one time pulled right up into my driveway as I was coming back from my mailbox, checking my mail, pulls up there and says, rolls down his window and says, "Excuse me, sir." And I turned around and I looked at him. I said, "What the fuck do you want?" That's exactly what I did. I said, you know, "What are you doing in my driveway?" "Oh, well, I assure you, we had I want to know what's going on here. We had a 911 call from your residence, from this location." I said, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about, because I sure in the hell didn't call you guys, because I've made it known to you guys a long time ago. You guys aren't allowed on my property. My property's private property, and I have nothing to do with all the cops. And there's good reason for that." And anyways, so I tell my lawyer this stuff, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that seems suspicious enough." And the next night, I was arrested by Sergeant Mosier of the sheriff's office, right? And when Sergeant Mosier come running up to my truck door, when he pulled me over after I left my brother's house, and that's the only place I was seen was at my brother's house. He pulls me over, comes running up.
"What do you think you're doing back there?"
It's like, "What the hell are you talking about? I'm visiting my brother's house. What'd you see me do wrong?" "Nothing. You was parked behind me at my brother's house, and then broke all kinds of traffic laws to catch up with me a mile down the road after I left my brother's house." And he says,
"Well, I got a call from Deputy Little, seen your truck, and wanted me to arrest you."
That was his whole reasoning. Okay, of course, that video is not, they won't release his dash cam video from that. Supposedly something happened and it don't exist, but it existed when the judge wanted to reference it, and I supposedly called him a liar. And anyways, so my lawyer agrees with me, all this is all horse crap. So I go ahead and pay him the retainer. Mr. Nicholas Fee, I pay him the retainer. "What, are you trying to catch that fly? You trying to catch that fly?" And I pay him my retainer, and suddenly, so I start talking to him. You know, after I hand him my retainer, then when I mention again about this Officer Little was having social media interactions, all of a sudden
he's like, "Well, you know, that's hard stuff to prove. Unless you want to hire, I could put you in touch with private detective, and he can watch your house or whatever."
And which would have been illegal, you know, right? But whether I did or not, I'm not going to divulge that information at this moment. But I do have the goods on some of these people. Anyways, so so suddenly he doesn't want to follow that route, right? And so he goes to my first pretrial and comes back to me immediately from the first pretrial, offering me this deal, and where I'll take disorderly conduct and just plead guilty to the protection order, and the other thing will be the domestic violence, be knocked down to disorderly conduct, and I'll be good to go, and I can get on with my life. It's exactly what my lawyer, who I paid to, and I said, "No, I'm not taking no deals. I'm innocent, and your job is to prove I'm in, is to get this taken care of." Well, at the time, I didn't know all the ins and outs of everything, because that's why I hired a lawyer. You do this stuff. I'm working. And when they showed up to run me off from my brother's house, I was like, well, I'm not, obviously these guys got it out for me. I'm just going to live in my truck. This is in the middle of winter, right? From the end of November all the way through February, I lived in my pickup truck, even though I had a house to live in. And so then the next pretrial, before the next pretrial, or no, after that first pretrial, no deals, whatever, I said, furthermore, what are we doing to get me back in my house? How come I'm not allowed in my own house, who I'm the only one who technically lives there and only one who has any legal claim to be there?
Oh, we'll look into. I'll get back with you, and yeah, we should be able to get something done about that, right?
So time goes on. I'm continuing to go to work each night and live in my truck every morning. You know, I get off work in the morning, I sleep in my pickup truck, burning gas to stay warm, and you're not getting good enough sleep. You keep waking up and have to shut the truck off, have to restart it, you know, because you can't burn all that gas, right? And then a few days before the second pretrial, I call him. Hey, what's going on? You know, I thought we was gonna sit down and go over my evidence.
Oh yeah. As soon as I get a chance, what's a good time for you?
I said, dude, I get off in the mornings. I'm free anytime. Anytime you're available, I'm free. You let me know when you're ready, and I'll show up wherever you want, and we'll go over my evidence. Okay, we'll do that, he says. I'll get some. I'll take a look at my schedule, and I'll leave you a message, and we'll meet and discuss. I said, furthermore, once again, what are you doing to get me in my house?
Oh, well, the way the laws are designed, it's right now. It's a matter is if it comes down to whether she or not she wants to leave. You know, right now it's at her choice whether she wants to leave or not. And I'll reach out to the Victims Advocate group and find out if we can talk her into leaving.
And I'm like, well, that just don't make sense to me. I said, but whatever, get it done. I'm sick and tired of living in my truck. My attorney, Nicholas Fee, knew I was living in my truck while going to work. I was going through all these harsh conditions and with no clothes, because I had a bag of clothes in my truck that Officer Mosier took. Okay, and let me back up. And I told him not only was Deputy Little was having online interactions with the alleged victim, and we'll get into. Yeah, I'm gonna point out every person involved in my situation. I'm gonna point out all the dirty deeds from all of them, I guess even including the alleged victim, of how things went down and how I was set up purposely to enter into an argument. She knew how to push it into an argument. And some things happened when I came home from work that Thursday morning before my first night going to jail. And 2 days before that, I told her, I'm going to fix your car. And then obviously you're not trying to be serious here. Obviously you're not trying to work nothing out. So when and your excuse is right now you can't go nowhere because your car needs fixed. I said, well, I ordered the parts. So Friday I will be fixing your car. And then from there, you can just hightail it out of here and not come back, right? Then suddenly, Thursday morning, I come home from work, and I get in the house, and of course, she's in there sleeping, and I'm being respectful, but when I go to use the bathroom, I gotta take a leak, and I go in there, and the toilet seat's up. Now, people can say whatever they want, but I am a man that puts the toilet seat down. All that, that's just how, whatever. It's no big deal to me. I'm done using the toilet. I put the toilet seat down. Toilet seat's always down, right? And but the toilet seat was up, and I'm like, what is this, right? But I kept my mouth shut. And then another thing happened. She was purposely edging me on into an argument. And I'm realizing now that, I was being set up for a reason to call the police, not knowing so the whole time I didn't realize that Austin Little was having online interactions with her. I seen the name. I did know Austin Little was, but I didn't put two and two together. I didn't realize his name, because this alleged victim was giving me a bunch of crap about going off anytime certain women liked my post on Facebook. And I'm like, whatever, that's ridiculous. I'm not doing anything, but whatever. But why are you acting like this? Because usually if somebody's acting like that, they got their own skeletons to hide. So I went on her Facebook to see who's all interacting with her. Well, Austin Little was on there. I didn't know Austin Little was a sheriff, deputy sheriff. I didn't know all that. His profile didn't show any of that at the time. And I just clicked on, well, who's this guy liking her shit? Who is this Austin Little guy, right? And anyways, then the next day I get arrested by Deputy Mosier, or Sergeant Mosier. Well, it turns out Sergeant Mosier is related to the alleged victim. You understand what's going on there? So the first night I get arrested by the deputy who's having some kind of interactions with the alleged victim. The next night I get arrested with the involvement of Austin Little, but then also comes into play is a relative of the alleged victim. And I'm like, I'm trying to tell my lawyer, hey, this is grounds for, that's clearly a conflict of interest here going on, right? And when I first talked to him before I hired him, he's agreeing with me. Well, after he gets my money, now everything's different, right? And now he's telling me, well, this stuff's too hard to prove. He's denying he's related to her, and you'd have to get some kind of digital forensics going on to prove that Austin Little, because the day I get out of jail, I step off the bus, that's what tipped me off. A guy I was in jail with who was set up in Williams County, and they literally screwed him around and kept keeping him in jail until he ended up dying in there. And that is the truth. And I can't think of his name right now. I would like, whenever I remember all that stuff, I'm going to do a video on his case. So my attorney, Nicholas Fee, now suddenly doesn't want to go that route. And the dirty bastard knows I'm living in my truck under these harsh conditions. None of these people involved in my case could live the way I was for those 3.5 months. And so anyways, where was I going with that? I'm kind of getting all over the place. Okay, now all of a sudden he doesn't want to prove these things that is going on between the sheriff's department and connection to the alleged victim. And suddenly now they want to keep me in jail, right? So this guy I'm in jail with, he's after my second time going back to jail, I realized I'm there the whole weekend. So, I'm start having a conversation with this guy that's bunked across from me. And I see I've been keeping to myself. I see he's keeping to himself. So I just start talking to him. And all of a sudden around my bunk, these guys are all starting to have conversations about their stuff, right? And one dude out of Toledo was going to be going to court, and he's like all nervous about what they're going to do to him and all that. And I said, well, who's your judge? And he says, Judge Roars. He said the name wrong, and I go, oh, you mean Roars? He says, yeah, that's him. I said, hey, man, don't worry. I said, if you're honest with Roars, you just be honest with him and show him respect. And he's going to do you good. He's going to do you right. And I feel bad. I think I said this in one of the other videos already, but I feel bad because I told this poor guy that Judge Roars an honest judge. And come to find out the hard way, Judge Roars is a dirty, rotten bastard, right? And anyways, we'll stick to the point, my lawyer right now. So, so this guy, I tell him a little bit about my case, and this guy blurts out because he's going on about what happened to in his case. Of course, some dirty stuff happened to him where his fiance or whatever started messing around with somebody in the Williams County government, and that's how he ended up going to jail, and why they decided to keep him there and keep screwing him over. So anyways, he looks at me, he goes, oh, she's about the deputy, he's fucking her, talking about the deputy in my case, and I laughed it off. I'm like, of course we could try to say that, so I laughed it off. I go, yeah, right, thinking it's all a big joke, until later that night I'm laying there in my bunk in my in jail, and I'm laying there staring at the ceiling, nothing else to do, and that's when it hit me. Oh, wait a minute, that's how I know that name, Austin Little. That's the guy that was on all over her Facebook, right? So then when I end up, they release me from jail, and first thing I do, I get off the bus. When I'm getting off the bus, they hand me my stuff back, so I get my phone back, and the first thing I do is, one, I go and find that the video I was taking on my phone when I got arrested that second night is now missing. Two, I go onto her Facebook, because I'm going to screenshot this, and suddenly all that information where he's on her Facebook is gone. Of course they're going to know that I'm raising hell about shit, so, they got to hide that connection. And we'll get into more dirty stuff about that later. Anyways, that's enough for me to go on, right? Well, suddenly my lawyer doesn't want to go that route. Suddenly my lawyer isn't getting me back in my home, Mr. Nicholas Fee, right? So it drags on, a couple more pre-trials, and then the next to the last pre-trial, he tells me again, well,
look, here's a good deal, you should take it. They're offering you a good deal. You can have this drop down to disorderly conduct and just plead to the protection order, and you'll be good to go. And now you just pay some court costs, and you'll be good to go. Everything's fine.
And the whole time I'm working, and I'm not, I took a day off I did take a day off for a funeral, and a person close to me died, and then the next, but I wasn't, otherwise I was going to work every day, and then using the shower in the morning at work, nasty shower there, but that's the conditions I was living in, and my lawyer knew it. And so so the thing is, I go ahead and, so my next to last pretrial, or my next to last pretrial, he's telling me all about this good deal. It's the same deal he keeps trying to tell me. And I said, finally I got pissed. I said, look here, you're my lawyer. I told you I'm not taking no deals. You go tell the prosecutor that he either drops this or I'm suing these guys for the violating of my rights. Oh, I'll make sure he knows that, he tells me, right? So I leave, I go home, whatever. And then next thing I know, 2 weeks later, I get a call from Mr. Steve Waxler, who is a boss at my work. He is also a member of city council, and his wife is on the sheriff's department, right? Is any of this coming together yet? So so the thing is, he tells me, he leaves me a voicemail, and maybe I'll put it on here, but he says, Larry, I'm letting you know you're not supposed to come to work, not to show up to work tonight, and don't plan on showing up to work until we call you back, because Joellen Hornish wants to have a meeting with you.
Larry, this is Steve Waxler from work. Mrs. Hornish said you're not to come back to work until we meet with you, until she has a meeting with you. And I don't think anybody's going to be here tonight because of the storms coming in, whatever. But she said just tell you don't come to work until she's here to have a meeting with you. So we'll call you when she's here and available for a meeting. So until then, we'll let you know. Thank you.
Right? This was about 2 weeks, right around 2 weeks after I told my lawyer, you tell this guy I'm going to sue them for the violation of my rights. So anyway, let me tell you how hard it is doing my laundry now, where I don't no longer have my washer and dryer, where who knows what's happened to it by now. And I had a box of these expensive the dryer sheets or whatever. It takes all the dog hair, right? Because he sheds a lot. It takes all the dog hair off of out of the clothes, you know. So now I go and my clothes just get done, and not that I got a bunch of clothes, just a few things, right? And but of course it's full of the dog hair because this vehicle's full of the dog hair, you know, and it won't come out because I don't have those dryer sheets. Anyways, back to my lawyer. Mr. Nicholas Fee. So I lost my job, right? They called me in there when they finally, so they left me that message, and then finally he calls me back one day and says, hey, if you're ready today, Miss Hornish is ready to sit down and meet with you. So I said, okay, let's do it. And I show up there, and she's trying to come up with some nonsense, right? And I went ahead and cut her off on that right away. I was like, no, you ain't, that don't apply to me. So then she turns it into what's going on in my personal legal matters, right? And I said, well, first of all, I said, I want to let you know that my personal life is not a matter of my employment. And she didn't like that. So I said, if you must know, what's going on with me is the result of not what's going on in my home. It's a result of a corrupt sheriff's department. Of course, they're connected heavily to them, so she got upset immediately. And you know how many people say that? And I said, you know how many times it's probably true? Oh, how dare you? And then she says, well, it's like this. If you're not willing to discuss your personal life with me, then it's just not going to work out here any longer for you. That was her firing me over me not discussing my personal life, right? And it was really, they wanted an excuse to fire me, to take away my employment, so I couldn't fight my legal battles. And so we'll get into, I'll do a video on each person involved. So my employer, they'll come into light. I'll talk to them about some stuff when I have a chance. Right now there's some stuff I can't say because of whatever situations. But so my lawyer then I go to my next my final pre-trial, and my lawyer says to me, tries to throw this deal at me once again. And I said, how many times do I gotta tell you I'm not taking no deals? I'm innocent and it's your job. Why aren't you doing your job to prove, you should be able to prove this? And he assures me, he says,
look, I'm telling you right now, they have substantial evidence with what, going by what the alleged victim is saying, and what the cops are reporting. And if this goes in front of a jury, you're most likely going to be found guilty. So you'll be wasting your time and money. And he says, furthermore, in order for me to, I told you I'll go to trial. I'm your lawyer. If that's what you're telling me you want to do, we'll do it. But before I can proceed further on that, it's going to cost you another $1,500.
what? So whatever. So, but it ain't wise for you to do that because, as I said, they have substantial enough evidence. You'll be found guilty. So I said, so I ended up getting talked into that deal. So anyways, he talks me into taking the deal, and then so you take the deal, and then of course they drop all these wrong court orders. Now, at the time, I didn't realize it was an unlawful court order yet, right? So anyways, I get, so they drop those, and I'm allowed to return to my home. I return to my home, and the alleged victim is there, and, she can tell my face, I'm right, what are you doing here? You caused me all these problems. And she says, hey, I want to let you know. She says, or she goes, well, so what's going on with your case? Did you beat it? And I said, I had a bit of an attitude right away. And I'm like, hell no, I didn't. I had to take this deal. And she goes, what is going on? She says, she hands me this paper, this right here, and hands me that and says, that's this one. She hands me this and says, well, look, she says, I want to let you know that the very next day I went to talk to the prosecutor, which is the Assistant City Law Director, Troy Essex. I went and talked to him and said that, I wasn't harmed, there was no violence, and that I did not request a protection order. I said, what are you talking about? And she says, well, yeah, I went to him, and he got upset and said he didn't care what I wanted, and that he needed that protection order in order to strong arm me into taking a deal. That's what he told her, right? And then he says that I deserved to hit rock bottom, blah, 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 right? And so she was not happy with that, and, as about a week went by or something, and a week or two went by, and so she didn't know what else to do, because she tried to tell the prosecutor about it. Then she tried to talk to the alleged victim's advocate, who is supposed to be, bringing up their concerns or whatever, and she told her advocate about it, and nothing was still happening. So then she went to my lawyer. All this, I did not know. Her and I was not allowed to contact each other, and as far as I was concerned, that was fine. If you did this to me, I'm not going to talk to you anyway, right? So she talks to my lawyer, and the paper she handed me was her affidavit. She then proceeds to tell me that she went to my lawyer and filled out her affidavit, and he notarized it, and it was her statement, and I read it, is her saying no violence happened, she was not harmed, and not claiming to be a victim, and and did not and confirmed that I was the only one with the legal right to live there. All this stuff was in that affidavit, and I was like, what the hell is this? What are you talking about? Now my lawyer said, I had no idea. The only thing I knew is he spoke to her, and he said, I spoke to her, and maybe we might have something favorable from it. And that's all he told me. Never showed me her affidavit, never at all, right? And I was like, well, this ain't right. What the hell are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, I was trying to go to bat for you right away. And she never gave an official statement to the officers. My lawyer never told me none of this. He made it sound like she was claiming this to the officers, and that because of that, I would be found guilty. And so he never raised the concern about the affidavit, which should have had my case dropped, thrown out, and so the next day, I called my attorney, and I'm like, what the man? I'm like, I want a complete copy of my entire case file immediately. Oh yeah, we'll get it to you. I'll get that right out to you. Well, a week or two goes by, and I'm like, where in the hell is my, either I haven't seen it in the mail, and you haven't called me to come pick it up. So I send him another message, and this time I send it through email to make sure I can confirm and I said, look, I want my case file. So he responds to me, Yeah, I'll get that around as soon as I can get to the office. Another 2 weeks goes by, and he finally contacts me. Oh, I can meet you on such and such day, and you can meet me at the office, and I'll go ahead and turn that case file over to you. Copies of that whole case file over to you. Well, by the time this happens, he stalled around, and I was not, so it surpassed my time to appeal. So, but meanwhile, I tried to send in my appeal anyways, and, they weren't cooperative about it. So then I started looking into my case. I started looking into researching the laws on this stuff, because now I was out of work. No, obviously a shit lawyer, so I had to figure this out on my own. So I started studying the laws, and found out I could do a motion to withdraw pleas. So that's where my appeal is at and all that right now. So anyways, during this time, I find out through my research that the court did not follow proper due process, because had they followed due process, the first day before they were allowed to order me out of my home, that they had to have a hearing on the matter. That's what the due process is about during a domestic violence case. They had to have a hearing on the matter. And in that hearing, either the alleged victim has to be there, and if she is not there, the only reason it's acceptable that she's not there is because she was too harmed to show up. And none of that was the case. They just did not have the hearing. They chose not to have the hearing, and that's what's going on here in Defiance County. So that violated my due process. So the whole time I'm calling this prick, Nicholas Fee, calling him from my truck. Dude, I'm living in my truck. What are you doing to get me in my house? And he's blowing me off, right? The whole time that's happening, he knew that due process was not followed, and he knew he could have had the whole case thrown out, and at least had me put back in my house, because they did not have the proper mandatory hearing. And but meanwhile, so then I finally go pick up my case file from him, and when I get my case file, if you look at my other video, that's the evidence I can show at this point in time. I show I think at least 3 forms on there where my attorney, Nicholas Fee, had all of this stuff. And one thing is, the very next day after my first arrest, they had me in jail, and I had to do my hearing from jail, video conference, before they would release me from jail. Well, here the Officer Little's report says right on there on the page that goes to the prosecutor, it says right on their prosecutor page, and that's on if you watch that video, proof of my claim, does this prove my claim or whatever, on that video I showed them forms, and I'll try to stick them up here, we'll see, whatever. But on that page, he fills out that no one was harmed, no evidence of any harm, no one was threatened, and I was not believed to be a threat. And that went to the prosecutor. So that very next day, after being in jail that night, they should have immediately released me and said, we do not have a domestic violence case here. And my lawyer had all these forms, and I did not know all of this. He never showed me this form and never informed me of it. And that's who Mr. Nicholas Fee is, and then of course there's other forms too. He had a photocopy of, because he found it, where he underlined it, where the cop in his own report admitted to doing all this stuff without reading me my Miranda rights. And my attorney underlined it because he found it. That was in my case file, and he never once told me about that. And the Officer Mosier's report said he arrested me, and it was signed and notarized, and that he arrested me on the 13th, and that was not true. He arrested me on the 12th. On the 13th, I was sitting in jail. And these are all things that can be done to have your case thrown out, or have this and that evidence thrown out. All this evidence he said was against me was actually all in my favor. That's who Mr. Nicholas Fee is. He's working hand in hand, giving hand jobs to him and Troy Essex, working together. And that's exactly what we had going on. And that's who Mr. Nicholas Fee is. Anyways, I'll end it at that, and we'll talk about the rest of the people in another video. I'll try to do a video for each person. But anyways, if you're from this area, first of all, you got to watch your attorneys. I hired this attorney. He took my money and allowed me to live in miserable conditions while ignoring everything he could have done. He could have had my case thrown out immediately, and it should have been him being a lawyer. He should have had my case thrown out immediately, and there should have, should have been the end of it long before I lost my job, long before it came to me threatening to sue. Because as soon as I threatened to sue, then Hornish stepped in for their people that's in their back pocket and took away my job and everything that's going on with me right now. All my property taken. We'll get into that. I'll show you just who the Hornish family really is and what kind of people they are, and the reason they're keeping all my stuff away from me, and they're making sure I'm not able to get back to work making enough money that I could hire a lawyer to get this stuff done. They're making sure that if any place hires me, it's going to be crap pay and I won't even be able to better myself. And so Nicholas Fee, he's a piece of crap, and he does not deserve to be a lawyer. He deserves to lose his license because of the way he handled my case. And he's probably handling other cases that way. And if you're anywhere from this area, you're a fool if you hire him. You're a fool if you hire any of these lawyers from this area, Northwest Ohio. Anyways, that's what I got for that for now. And talk to you later.